Welcome.
Good morning. I apologize. I have to speak to you in English. Turkish isn't one of my languages, but I'm thrilled to be back in Istanbul. I love coming here. You live in one of the most beautiful cities in the world. It's just fabulous. And last night I was taken to dinner to an incredibly expensive restaurant where I didn't have to pay, which was even better, called Sunset, which has this spectacular view. I come from Sydney, and I think Istanbul and Sydney are very similar. The only difference is 12 million people more, and it's just much more exciting here, and the energy is just unbelievable. Except I don't like the traffic. No, I'm sure you don't either. But I'm delighted to be here. I have to tell you that the SAP World Tour every year does about 55 cities. That's more than the Rolling Stones do when they go on tour. And so I think of myself as the Mick Jagger of SAP. So except with this, I think I'm probably more like one of the new female stars, you know. So nevertheless, I'm here. Every year they send me the list of the 55 cities, and I get first choice of 10. I just do 10. Otherwise, I'd spend my entire life doing the same speech, and that would be a little bit hard for me as well as for my audience. But every year I tick Istanbul first. So I'm delighted to be here. When I was here 2 years ago, I spoke about the issues that I thought business would face. I talked about something called Business 2010. At that stage, we were looking out 5 years, and we were looking at what would happen, what was keeping CEOs awake, what were the challenges to the business community, particularly challenges to businesses in a country like Turkey, which was competing with, in many cases, much larger economies, much more established, larger populations, businesses that had been competing on a global base for a longer time. It's interesting now to look back 2 years and see what's happened. Because for a start, consolidations have continued. We have seen more mergers and acquisitions globally in the last 5 years than in the previous 250 years of business history. So what have we created with this? We've created these massive companies, not necessarily great companies, just great big companies. Because what also happened in the last 2 years is we saw this incredible onslaught from India and China. 2 years ago, we sort of thought that maybe we had 5, 6, 10 years before India and China would sort of make their major appearance on the world stage. But have a look at Indian companies now. They're buying up major companies around the world. They're taking over industries like steel. We just saw Tata come in and buy Jaguar, which was this sort of symbol of English automotive power. We've seen Tata introduce a car for $2,500 US, which will have an incredible impact on the automotive sector. We've seen China become the world's manufacturing center. So even 2 years ago, when you would think that us as business executives could foresee the speed of change, things have moved even faster than we thought would happen. The world is becoming much more complex. There is no question that at the same time we talked about the fact that innovation was critical. That as the world was changing, companies would have to change, companies would have to innovate, companies would have to use technology as a weapon. You know, for 50 years, I started in the computer industry, not quite, but nearly 50 years ago, with IBM. And at the time, technology just followed business need. As corporate America grew, we needed large mainframes. As corporate America started to move across internationally into other countries, we needed mini computers. As we decided that personal productivity was critical, We started to build PCs and workstations, and technology was always a follower to business need. Look at us today. Technology, for the first time in its history, is actually a leader. We have more technology today than we know what to do with. And look at how we use technology. See, I believe that the limiting factor to our use of technology is not the technology itself, it's our imagination. Look, we all carry Blackberries and mobile devices. The technology is brilliant. And what do we use this technology for? We use it for email. For email. We have technology that is capable of changing the world, capable of changing the way we do business, and we use technology to send us messages about the latest price of Viagra. Or we get technology to tell us that, we're due at a meeting in 10 minutes. For the first time, we have the ability to change technology from being something that is just an administrative tool to being something that is a competitive weapon. A competitive weapon, something that enables companies to compete not only in a local marketplace but on a global stage. And the challenge for us is to use that technology in a way that enables us to really take advantage of it from a business viewpoint. We talked about the fact that agility and speed would become critical. And that's been very, very true because the rate of change, it's interesting, 50 years ago, we were all talking about the fact that the rate of change is the fastest that it's ever been. And every year we say exactly the same thing, and it's true. And the ability to be able to change as business change happens, to build a business platform that embraces change. See, change is a cultural thing. It's not a question of whether your organization can change quickly enough. It's, do you have a culture in your company that believes that change is part of your DNA? That change is something that you generate. That change is something that you create. Part of creativity is the ability to know that change has to be part of your life rather than something you react to. And the challenge to the business community is, how do you drive that change? How do you have people in your organization drive change? One of the things that I find fascinating is the rise of Toyota. If you go back 30 years ago, Toyota was just a Japanese car manufacturer that was sort of not that reliable, but was sort of starting to make its mark in the world. Over the years, Toyota has become a word for reliability. It is now the #1 automotive manufacturer in the world. Their products compete at every level. They get every day, from their people, from their staff, 400 suggestions for change in the company per day. They don't implement all 400, but the culture in the company is that change is driven by their people, not by the external market. See, most of us react to change, and yet the skill is not reacting to change. The skill is to become the driver of change so that your competitors have to react to you rather than you react to your competitors. So the companies that have done well, the companies that have lived through this process, the companies that are going through this process well, are the companies that understand how to drive this change, how to use technology as a weapon, how to have this ability to be agile, to change their products, change their services, change their go-to-market, keep changing the environment. There is an expression that I've always hated, which is, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. I think that's totally wrong. See, I think